Hey, in this video, we're talking about 3 marketing tips that you need to succeed as an introvert in the coaching industry. This is a continuation of a previous video. We'll link to that down below. And Michelle starts this video off with an insanely critical statement about a concept you must get if you not only want to succeed, but you want to be fulfilled in your success. Most people have an inherent obstacle, an inherent objection of whether success is possible, but not just is success possible, but is success possible for me? And then the layer underneath that, which I think is more real for introverts than people that don't identify as introverts, is success possible for me as me? Or do I need to change in order to be successful? Specifically, do I need to really enjoy sales and being extroverted? And do I need to love speaking on stages and all these things that a lot of us extroverts or introverts rather don't enjoy? And I say us introverts, I am a high introvert. Absolutely. Almost off the charts introverted, because when these lights are off and the cameras are off, I am invisible pretty much almost, and I'm just an introvert. So I think there's a lot of people that identify as introverts and just feel like they can't win without changing. But the reason we're introverts is because that stuff doesn't feel good to us. That stuff just being out there with all the extroverted personality and loving sales and marketing and all that. So if the message is we need to change from who we are to that in order to succeed, then it's going to always be uncomfortable, because that stuff is uncomfortable. So the picture that the industry puts out, even if it's not put out by extroverts, because I also know a lot of people who are just magnetic in front of the camera, but still introverts when everything is off. Even if those people aren't literally introverts, the message that gets either thrown out there or the message that gets received is that in order to succeed, I need to like all of this stuff. I need to do all the stuff that I see, but I need to like it. I need to not be afraid of it. I need to not have any of the internal stuff. Basically, I need to not have any of the stuff that I don't see. You know, the internal resistance. I need to not have all that stuff because nobody's talking about that. Therefore, it must not be a part of the recipe. And for introverts, I would say, you know, I don't know that this is a connection like at a neuroscience level or in deep study of introverts. I don't know that studies have proven this, but I would imagine it would make sense to me that introverts are more connected to their emotions, or at least more connected to their internal thoughts, right? I mean, it would make sense to me if that's true, because we spend so much time on our own and we recharge outside of the external plugins. So it would make sense if we spend a little bit more time focusing on, or maybe overvaluing, what's going on inside of us. And then when the message is received that this has to change, that's where so much of this challenge really happens. So when it comes to marketing, we see what's out there and then we think we need to duplicate that or replicate that. And we need to do it the same way that we see it, because if that's really all we see, then we think that's the whole universe of marketing examples. Let's say I need to do what I see on social media. I need to do what I see on YouTube. I need to do what I see from all these other people. And that requires most of us to change who we are, to become some version of ourselves that we really are not. So in this video, we're going to give you some specifics of what this means to apply to your business, whatever that looks like, whether it looks like you increasing in your skills or you actually marketing your products and services and all that stuff. So we want to give you some more tangible, applicable thoughts and tactics here in this video. But before we do that, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I also want, my hope is that we give you hope, because maybe in some context it is explicitly said, you know, like, hey, you need to change, you need to get better at this and better at this and better at this and be different in order to be successful. But I think the bigger problem is that we don't see us. And so it's the lack of seeing ourselves that has us in like just create the story that if I don't see me succeeding, like me, like a somebody who's like me that I relate to succeeding, then I make it mean that it's not possible for me. And so I really hope that anybody that's watching this feels like, oh my gosh, these people are normal like me. I barely leave my house. Like I go like only a couple places. I'm highly introverted. So I resonate with what Sean says about being an introvert. And so there's hope in that for me to be able to be like, okay, he can do this and I can do this too, which is why it's so important for all of us to understand that, because I believe there is somebody who is going to be needing to hear that same message from you.
Yeah. And what hit me as you were just talking there, I think what makes this a big challenge for a lot of us, specifically in the introverted conversation, is that we have so many insecurities. I mean, we all have insecurities. That's not just an introvert thing, but introverted insecurities are different than extroverted insecurities. So if we're seeing this one type of person, or what we perceive one type of process is the only process that can succeed, then how do we follow that, or how do we find ourselves in that? You know, and I mean, in the coaching industry specifically has no boundaries. We talk about that all the time. And so if somebody is really extroverted, then they're going to jump on social media and they're going to share a bunch of stuff and do the stories and do all the things and turn into, you know, somewhat of a media channel, because that's just part of their nature and it's what they want to do. If somebody just recognizes that that's the way to succeed and there are no legal boundaries in this industry, then maybe they're just going to do that. But the net effect is that what we don't see what makes us comfortable. And for the introverts that are successful, and success is relative, obviously, but very rarely are introverts running out to get noticed in the spotlight, because that's kind of counter to introvertedness, right? So there aren't a whole lot of introverts on the stage because introverts don't want to be on the stage. Now, some of us do have, I'm highly introverted, but I've also always had a desire to be on stage. I know you've got a lot of performance in your background and so forth. So that's common. That, I mean, I don't know how common, but there are introverts that do have that performance trait or desire, but not all introverts do. So the point is, the introverted lifestyle, that would be a good shirt, maybe, like the introvert lifestyle. The introvert lifestyle doesn't crave the stage. In fact, it generally fears the stage. So there's not a whole lot of introverts on stage. And what you said about not finding yourself in the process or in the spotlight, I think is everything. And that's why one of the biggest questions is, can I succeed as me? Because I don't see me up there.
Correct.
And so a lot of the marketing programs out there and a lot of the marketing discussions are, let me teach you how to market like us. But you're not like us. So if you're not like them, then don't try to do like them, because you can't be like them. And if you can't be like them because you're not like them, is that what you just said?
Yeah.
If you're not like them, then you can't be like them. I'm talking about authentically being like them. Then doing like them is either going to fail because it's misaligned, or you're not going to be happy if it does succeed. And you hear me say this all the time. The second way is worse. The second one of those. If you succeed as a different version of yourself, that's worse than not succeeding because you're out of alignment. So one of the big, ideally hope-filled lessons in all of this for all of you is that if you haven't succeeded, it doesn't mean you are the problem ingredient. What it means is You just haven't found the recipe that is built around and aligned with your unique, valuable ingredient.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you've never actually brought all of you to the marketing, to the sales, to the business, then you don't actually have any evidence that you are the problem, because you've never even brought you into the conversation, right? That's what I was thinking when you
I
were
just want
talking.
to highlight that. I want to repeat that because I think that's a potentially confusing concept or idea. So what I just heard you say is that if you've never actually tried with you as the authentic ingredient, then you don't have any evidence that your authentic ingredient is the problem.
Correct.
That's incredibly important and really, really powerful and really deep.
In fact, the only evidence that we have is that we are not successful as not ourselves.
Right.
And one of the things go ahead.
One of the things, go ahead.
That I had a huge awareness around recently was, no matter how hard I try or work, I will never be a good enough version of somebody who's not me.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that adds to this challenge for us is that we've been trying for a long time. And there's a lot of study when it comes to neuroscience and the way that we hold on to our past decisions and the journeys that we've been on. If we've been searching for something for a long time, the longer we've searched for it, the less likely we are to want to hear that that might not be the thing that we should be searching for. Meaning, the longer we've been looking for something, the more determined we will be that that is the thing that we need to find. So if we are trying to find a way that we can be a different version of somebody else and succeed, and we've been trying to do that for a long, long time, then the idea that you can actually succeed as yourself causes the mind to go, so you mean all those years that I've been searching for all that is actually not true? The mind hates the idea that it has to admit that it's been on the wrong path for a long time. So we would rather actually stay committed to the path we've been on rather than the right path. And the longer we've been on that path, the more committed we are to that path, which is one of the reasons why this concept that we're talking about isn't readily accepted, or it's not, it's not, what's the word? People don't like hearing it, right? Mm-hmm. So there's just the introverted traits, but then there's the way we humans do decision-making and commitments that exacerbate all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So to this point of trying to be a different version of somebody else, one of the metaphors that we use quite a bit is the difference between sharks and dolphins. And I don't mean any kind of moral judgments of who sharks are and sharks are bad people or anything like that, even though that is one of the words that we use for con men, and that's not what I mean. What I mean is a shark and a dolphin are very, very similar animals. Yeah. If you take a look at the body shape, they both swim in the water. They are found in many similar ecosystems. I mean, so much of the dolphin and the shark just visibly are similar in many, many ways. And one's a fish and one's a mammal. So that's incredibly important to recognize that a shark can't be out of water for a long period of time, and a dolphin can't can't be out of water for a long period of time, and a dolphin needs to come up and get air. It can't be in water for a long period of time without getting air, right? So just by the way that these two animals exist is different. And so if you learn how to swim as a shark, you're going to be on the ocean floor many times, and you're going to be anti-air basically, and you're going to die because you need air as a dolphin. And if you do learn how to swim, like the mechanics of swimming, this was mind-blowing. I know you hear me talk about this all the time, and I get geeked up every time I talk about it.
Yeah.
If you think of the body shape of a shark's tail is vertical, which means in order to move through the water, the shark has to go horizontal with its tail. It's got to move the tail left and right. So as a dolphin, if you learn how to swim like a shark and you start moving your tail left and right, sounds good, except your tail's horizontal. So if you start moving your tail left and right, it doesn't have the same effect as the shark's tail, nor is your body designed to move that way. The dolphin's body goes up and down, just like we all used to practice in our breakdancing days. Those of us that are old enough to remember the dolphin
swim team.
or swim team or wherever you might have seen that. And the shark doesn't go up and down. The shark goes left and right. So these two animals, even though there's a lot of similarities, are diametrically opposed to each other in some essential foundational ways. So if you are a dolphin, you need to go to dolphin school, not shark school. And if you are a shark, you need to go to shark school and not dolphin school. Now, what I've learned is that the majority of the people that are succeeding are teaching what worked for them, right? Because to the shark, if you say, hey, that doesn't work to swim, the shark's like, what are you talking about? This is exactly how I swim. So to the shark, it's true. But to the dolphin, it doesn't work. So this is not about what's right or wrong. It's about what works for you and what animal are you.
Right.
And if you're a shark, I would tell you go to shark school. And if you're a dolphin, just go to dolphin school. That's why alignment is more important than correctness. And we just spend so much time arguing over what's right and what's wrong and what's the right thing to do and what's the wrong thing to do. It's just all about alignment. So most people that are seeing all the marketing that we've been talking about, when they try to put themselves in that kind of marketing, they are the dolphin trying to swim like a fish, or the proverbial fish out of water, because they're just not aligned with not just what's going to work for them, but what's going to make them feel good. You know, that's something I don't know that we've talked about a whole lot. We talk about it internally, but you got to feel good about this. You got to feel good about your work. I mean, if you have to do something that doesn't feel good in order to succeed, you will always resist the process. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't bump up against discomfort. Of course we do, as we learn new skills and as we continue to expand our comfort zone. But there's got to be some kind of intrinsic fuel that drives you in order for you to be happy and fulfilled, in my experience. So if the whole way to succeed is grinding against your soul because it's so misaligned with who you are and what you're here to do, then it's impossible to succeed and feel good about that success. So our big message here is, if you're not as successful as you want, especially if you're resonating with any of the stuff that we're talking about with introvertedness and some of the insecurities, then you just haven't found the right recipe with you in the middle of it. And what we really want you to understand is that recipe exists. Doesn't matter if you've been trying to do this for 10 years or 5 years or 10 months or however long. The lack of success in the other recipes you've tried just means those aren't it. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you haven't found your recipe yet.
That's it.
Anything else you want to add before we get into a few tactics here?
No.
Perfect. So let's talk about some strategies.
Yeah.
One big strategy that I've found that a lot of introverts and people with insecurities have is the idea of standing out. Like, I'm going to help somebody. And I can help you, I think, are 4 of the scariest words that a lot of people can say. I can help you. I mean, it's just terrifying on many levels for many of us. And I dealt with this for a long time in different arenas as well. I can help you. That's not an introverted thing to say generally, because it's not about, you know, what I can do and go out and mix it up with other people, but just the self-confidence and the certainty that I can help really shuts a lot of people down. So one of the shifts that we've been
Huge.
really focusing on, yeah, this is a big one, is that nobody's looking for you anyway.
Yeah. You're welcome.
That sounds a little dismissive. That might sound kind of mean and demeaning, but let's be honest, nobody's looking for you.
No.
Unless and until you've developed a brand where people know you by name.
Yeah.
But for most of us, that doesn't happen for a long, long time, if ever.
Yeah.
So
and it doesn't have to.
Right. It doesn't ever have to develop into where your name is the brand.
Right.
So nobody's looking for you. They're looking for solutions to their problems.
Their problems.
Bingo. So when they go on their computer or their phone and they start typing into Google or YouTube or wherever they're going, they're asking for solutions to their problems. They're not looking for people until they get connected and they want to follow a certain personality. But the reason that's really important is that people are looking for your lessons. Yeah. They're not looking for you. So you don't have to perform in some way that makes you feel uncomfortable. You have to answer other people's questions. Yes. And I've actually never heard anybody say that they have a fear of answering people's questions in an area that they feel confident about. Sure. Like, and if you're teaching the lessons that you've learned along the way, then hopefully you've got confidence that those lessons will help people. So if the lessons will help people and the people are looking for the lessons, they're not looking for you. So don't put your self-esteem in the way and start getting all discombobulated about your performance anxiety or your potential self-esteem conflicts that I still have, even after 17 plus years. I know you do too. So they're looking for the information that you have. And then the way you deliver it can be absolutely unique to you. But let's just start with the fundamental truth that they are looking for your information. They are not looking for you in the spotlight. And what we found is that calms a lot of people's nerves down, especially people that identify as teachers. Yes. Especially people that identify as just wanting to help and wanting to serve others. Then the message is you can just do that. You can actually just teach people the lessons that you've learned rather than be this extroverted person in the spotlight. And you actually can succeed as yourself, as your version of that teacher.
Yeah, and you have certainty because it's lessons that you've learned past tense. So you know the effect, you know the impact, you know where you were and what you know now, you know how your experience is different. And this is a bigger conversation than I believe we'll have right now, but we overlook the power of a lot of that because we're like, well, I'm done. I've been there, done that. I'm over it, right? I'm through it. I'm past it. But there's a ton of people out there, you guys. There's so many people who don't know what you know, and they're looking for it. I mean, it was
for it.
Yeah. I mean, I did. I genuinely had no idea that it was possible to actually change your thoughts and have a different experience until 2013. I had no idea. Like that concept, I just thought how I felt was how I felt, and that wasn't even anything that was possible. That wasn't that long ago. Yeah. That I genuinely had no clue about that. And most of us in personal development are like, oh yeah, duh, I learned that like the first week in personal development school. Right. And there's a lot of people out there who are like me, who that concept was like, what? Mind-blowing to me. I literally burned out a CD. I had to get it replaced twice, listening to this over and over and over again, because I was so just excited by the hope and the possibility that I could have something different than I had every day. I could feel something different than I felt every day.
Yeah. And what really jumped out to me there is CD. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize you were that old. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, those of us little young pups, we don't know what those are.
Yeah.
So
Do
maybe
you
you
need
can
a wipe for your mirror to clean
yeah,
that off?
maybe you can help some of us understand what a CD is.
Yeah.
Yeah, point taken. That what is easy to a lot of us now, or unconscious competence, is brand new to other people. And
Yeah.
so when you want to share whatever it is that you're wanting to share, and you're coming from an authentic place and you're sharing it with people that are an earlier version of you, meaning that they are on not necessarily like the exact same kind of person you are, but they're earlier on the journey that you've been traveling,
Yeah.
then those are the best people to turn around and teach. We get so caught up in the marketing side of things, and we overvalue the marketing. We overvalue, and I think we think that marketing is essentially the success of a business. Like, in order to succeed, you got to market in a certain way, and you got to be seen out there on social media and all these things. And you got to have campaigns and ads and all this stuff running. And that's not the value of a coaching business. The value of a coaching business is what you do with the individual clients. Not whether you bring a lot of money in and what the structure of your business is and all this stuff. That all these things are really sexy to our ego, but that's actually not what hardly any of us, and I'll say any of us that are still listening to this, care about. So what can you do to genuinely help those people that are looking for the information you have? And so the first thing, we've got 3 tips for you here. The first thing is to not market, at least the way that we think marketing is done. Don't market the same way, in the same fashion, in the same forms, to the same degree. Don't copy the marketing. Just teach. Now, if you break down the word and the essence of marketing, what marketing essentially means is just letting people know about something that you have. That's basically what marketing is. We tend to think marketing is sales and online campaigns and all the stuff that we see and commercials and stuff like that. That's marketing also, but that's not the essence of marketing. When you tell somebody about a restaurant that you just ate at, that's marketing, actually.
Yeah.
It's marketing from the customer. It's not marketing from the restaurant. That's marketing. Somebody just found out about a thing that they could potentially participate in or go purchase or eat at or whatever. So marketing is making yourself known to somebody who might be looking, and you can actually be a better marketer as a teacher if that's who you really are. If you are a teacher, then teach your face off. And that can serve as marketing. Now, there are things to understand about online marketing if you're going to do that, paid marketing, free marketing. There are things to understand, but the essence, if you're a teacher, the essence of your marketing should be teaching, because that's who you are.
Right.
A lot of people, if you look at the essence of their marketing, is selling, because that's who they are. And that's fine. But if the essence of who you are doesn't match the essence of who they are, then you shouldn't be doing what they're doing. So become a teacher. My philosophy for all of you teachers out there is to build a classroom with a bunch of your teachings. Build a classroom on YouTube. Build a classroom on Facebook if you want to do that. Build a classroom on Instagram. You can build a classroom on these platforms, but build it as a teacher, not as a salesperson. So I always say build a classroom, not a boiler room.
Yes.
Right? Boiler room is where all the heavy pressure sales are made. People are on the phone doing cold calls and trying to get people out of their money. That's the sales tactic. And for people that are hardcore sales, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with doing that. If it's aligned for you, it's just not going to be aligned for almost all of you. So the first thing is don't market, teach. And just that right there, hopefully will remove some of the resistance that you may have.
Yeah. And it works.
Right. So either add to that, or you can say number 2.
I'll say number 2. Ask people what they want to learn and then teach them that. Because I could hear my own voice, right? Especially the first time that I heard that, being like, well, what am I supposed to teach? So if that is something that you can relate to, I invite you to just stop and ask other people what they want to learn, I remember it was a couple of years ago that I did just every week I went live, and the topic was Ask Me Anything. And I just stayed on for anywhere between 30 minutes and an hour. And I just answered people's questions about whatever it was that they wanted to learn. So whether you do that, or you make a post that just says, hey, if if I could answer any of your questions, what would that be? Right? Or what do you want to know about self-love? Or what do you want to know about language? Or what can I help you with? And just connected with people and found out what they wanted to learn, and then answered their questions. But instead of trying to figure out what it is that you need to teach people, ask people what they want to learn. And if the people aren't engaging with you, start to type something into Google that's even slightly related to what you're talking about, and you'll find out the stuff that pops up in the populated text is what other people are searching for. So answer those questions.
Yeah, that's actually a really good tactic, that last piece. If you go to Google, we're in the coaching industry, right? And before I say that, a lot of the things that we do on our YouTube videos or these Facebook Lives are answering people's questions. We send out surveys often, and we find out what are people wanting to know, or we pay attention when we talk to people. And we are sourcing, I would say, the majority of our content from what we know people are asking for, either by studying the markets and the keywords and all that stuff, or just paying attention to what people are asking for. Either they're asking us or they're asking other people. And then we teach to what people are wanting to learn to that point. So this tactic, if you go on Google or you go on YouTube and go in like an incognito window to where you don't have all of your algorithms already built into your computer, you don't have all the cookies and all the things, because when you start typing something in, it'll fill, the auto-populate, that feature will fill based on your browsing history and even where you are in the world and stuff like that. But if you open up some kind of an incognito window, I don't know what it's called in Safari or some of the other things, but you don't have all those cookies, then it'll give you a search based on, or it'll auto-populate based on what so many other people are saying or are looking for. So if you go into YouTube, and if we were to type in, how do coaches, and then just leave it there, it will auto-populate some examples. Right. And then those are potential video titles, or their potential articles, or their potential pieces of content that you can teach to. So that's a really good suggestion. The final one we're going to talk about here is to simply share your story. Just be real with what you've been going through. Somebody asked me earlier today, actually, she said, she goes, I see a video of yours every day, and it's like a half hour or longer. How do you have so much content to talk about? And what I wanted to say is, exactly. What I wanted to say is that actually it's hard to only do a half hour a day. It's really, really difficult. And if we had the space to just create and create and create, I mean, we do multiple hours every single day. So that's one piece. But what I said was, because I'm just constantly in the work, and when you're constantly in the work and you're constantly experiencing things, then what I would teach right now about parenting is different than what I would have taught 6 months ago, or self-love, or confidence and certainty. So if you're constantly climbing, then you will constantly have things to teach to the people who are climbing behind you. It's like, oh, I just came across this rock, or I just came across this little pothole, or I just came across this internal conflict. And I'm just getting this visual of everybody ascending some mountain, and each person is slightly ahead of the person behind them. So with every step you take or every mile you go, you've got now a new mile's worth of content to teach the people that are a mile behind you. And so the consistency in the work, and that means having coaches, that means being in programs, that means going to seminars, that means constantly surrounding yourself with support. Way too many of us are doing it on our own. And maybe some of that has to do with the introverted trait, or maybe it's just that we're afraid of being found out or whatever it is. But way too many of us are trying to succeed in an arena that requires support all by ourselves. And because of that, we're actually robbing ourselves from a lot of content too.
Absolutely.
And learning for ourselves and constantly evolving, right? And if you remove yourself from that kind of support, then it's just going to be incredibly, incredibly difficult. I don't know a single person ever in 17 plus years. I don't know how many thousands of people I've talked to. I don't know a single person who has succeeded on their own. I don't know anybody personally who succeeded without a coach, like one-on-one help. I don't know. I'm sure there are people out there. I've never met one, ever. The people that I've met that have been really successful, they've literally had dozens of coaches over the years. It's just a piece of the recipe that so many people are missing, and for all kinds of reasons that are beyond the scope and the time of this video. But you've got to get yourself in successful environments that are going to help you evolve, and then teach from your evolution.
Yes.
That's actually very simple to do. It's not necessarily easy if you've got conflict or you've got forgiveness, that you've got to confront or something like that in terms of your relationship to who you are or what your past is or what you're learning or what have you. But the concept is actually really, really simple, right? When you're in first grade, you take second grade classes, and then you could teach second graders to first graders. And then when you're in third grade, you take third grade classes, and then you could teach third grade stuff to second graders. Or you could teach second grade stuff to first graders while you're learning third grade. Like this process it's constantly in motion, and most people are not allowing themselves to be in motion because they're just so stuck on a lot of things that we've been talking about, and the pressure of getting it right or being perfect or having to be like the other marketers that we're seeing out there. So what we want you to know is that your voice has value. If you've learned lessons in your journey, somebody's looking for them. And the kinds of people that need to hear your unique voice are probably introverted or share the same insecurities that you do. They share the same head talk that you do. There are a lot of people out there that are very, very similar to you. And what they need is somebody that they can see themselves in. So if you can't see yourself as a coach and a leader inside the marketing of other people, how will those people that need your fully transparent version of you see the not version of you, or the not version of them in the not version of you in the watered down version of somebody else? So the people that are looking for the lessons, and specifically your perspective, need it to come from your transparent perspective, your authentic perspective, not your version of somebody else. Now, if you like this video, check out that video right there where we talk about how to increase your sales by doing less selling and instead doing more of what you love and what you're good at anyway. Or if you feel resistant toward sales, it's because you haven't found the thing that's aligned with your distinct value. You have